Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Cinema Review in the Old Dirty Basement. On today's show, we're covering from 1978, Halloween, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. This is by far my favorite horror movie, and I don't think it's even close. But Matt and Zap tell us that, you know, they have a favorite horror movie, each of them, and it's not this one, but this one rates up there with them. But I thought that was a cool conversation to get into. A lot of cool facts on this. One fact I was really shocked to find out, Matt didn't know, but maybe a lot of you don't know either. I just thought it was something that everybody knew if you saw this movie, but I guess we'll find out. But at any rate, if you're on Spotify or Apple or Google, wherever you're at, don't forget to follow our show. Give us a rating where available, and a written review on Apple. That really helps us get discovered, and that's what we're looking to do. We want to grow with this thing, so hope you're enjoying it. We really are. So sit back, relax, and enjoy from 1978, Halloween.
Hey, this is Matt.
And this is Dave.
And welcome to Vintage Cinema Review.
Where every week we review some of our favorite films from the past.
Hey, there ain't no late fees here. Uh-oh. What do you got going on down there, guys? I see both of you. Hey, what's up?
What's up, everybody? Hey, look, man, I just decided to hang around down here. I'm not going anyplace.
All right.
I love this couch way too much.
He's a permanent resident now, down in the basement. But yeah, Christmas time, yeah, right.
Christmas holiday season down here.
How could I mess that one up?
Holla.
But Halloween time, what other movie to review than Halloween, 1978?
The OG, the classic, the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the best horror movie, my favorite horror movie of all time. Been redone numerous times. I mean, it's been copied. It's been
done and dragged out. I think actually the new one is this year, just out, correct?
Yeah.
The last one.
Halloween Ends.
Yes.
Yeah, and we know it's not going to, but
in 2 years it'll come back.
Yeah.
He's still there.
Yeah, the next one will be Halloween, just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, they've done it where, I mean, well, I think I was with Jason. It's the same way with the Friday 13th.
Any of the majors. I think they finally killed off Krueger. He's not coming back for a while.
Yeah. I mean, but with Jason, they took his body and like put his heart and head and all different parts of the world, and then he still somehow came back together, and you know what I mean? They'll do the same thing with Michael Myers.
For sure.
He's that guy.
Yep.
He's that guy.
So yeah, Halloween 1978. This is rated R, which
thank goodness
deserved it. There's nudity and violence and all that good stuff.
I think it's more of suspense than horror. No?
I mean, yeah.
The first one?
There were certainly elements of both.
My sister-in-law, for instance, is in her 30s now and still will not watch it.
Really?
Yeah. And she just is petrified of Michael Myers, and just it puts her on edge. Like even the music comes on, she wants no part of it. And
do you still have that outfit? Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, I do. No, the mask I do not have because the hair came out. But I
could fix that.
I have the
Zap got a sewing machine.
Yeah, they got that. Just for Michael.
Right. Just for Michael. Yeah. I have the
classic.
I have the overalls, the Dickies type garage.
I have
mechanic wear.
Mm-hmm.
But
if I could borrow the mask, maybe
we'll hook it up.
All right.
But Halloween, rated R, 1978. Like we said, release date on this was October 24th, 1978, and runtime was 91 minutes. This was directed by John Carpenter and screenplay by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, who were dating at the time of this.
Well, that's why I hooked her up.
Yeah, and produced by Deborah Hill.
A match made in Haddonfield.
Yeah, that's a good one. Match made in Haddonfield, yeah. I think she grew up in Haddonfield, New Jersey, or had a connection there. I think it was her, and that's why they decided to name
town.
Yeah.
Or is it just? I mean, that was. Oh, there's more into that movie with where it was filmed at the time it was supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You talking about this movie here?
Yes, this movie right here.
There's a lot of that. A lot to get into with that.
Fakerkins.
Right. So budget on this was between 300 and 325,000. Now I've heard that the 300 and then the 25 was for one of the actors. We'll get into that. So, and then the box office on this was 70 million.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, that's, as Zap would say on these.
Juicy squeeze.
The juice was worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
For damn sure.
That was a nice return. Yeah, that's like if you bought GameStop at one time last year. Wasn't that going on with GameStop? Like
Oh,
nice return.
yeah.
With
It's
the
like
stock.
putting some stock into Apple.
Yeah, you're making bank on this.
Hell yeah.
So the guy Mustafa Akkad, he was the guy that funded it, and then he saw how much money this made. He didn't really have expectations like that, but then after that, he was like all in, and that's why it got milked so much.
Is that guy like a sheik or something?
I don't know what he was, but he was a money man.
Yeah.
Basically had money and funded it.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what his return was on that. So, okay, if he dumped $300,000, the movie the box office alone made 70 mil. So think of those things like Shark Tank or whatever the hell, I'll give you
10%.
I'll give you X amount of money for 40%
Yes.
of this. And again, it's ridiculous asks, and of course there's negotiation, but I would love to know at the end what his take was.
Well, I do know that Carpenter's take was $10,000. That's what he wanted. Now Deborah Hill wanted a cut, so she got paid based on what it made. So
She got mailbox money.
She made out. Now he made the $10,000, but then he talking about John Carpenter. I'm sure he made out in the.
Why would you just go for the 10? Like why? Oh, 10,000 sounds good.
They didn't really know. I don't think at that time they thought it was going to be good, but I don't think they really knew it was going to be this. I mean, I would be shocked. But Zap, you got the cast.
Yeah,
going,
well,
right?
I mean, with a cast like this, how could it not be good? So you got Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode,
Queen of Scream.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis, Nick Castle as The Shape, also known as Michael Myers.
The Shape, is that what they called it?
Yeah, if you look at the credits,
Ah.
at the closing credits, there's no mention of Michael Myers. For somebody to play the actors, it was The Shape.
Mm-hmm.
You got PJ Souls as Linda Vanderclock.
PJ Souls.
Yeah.
PJ Souls.
Isn't it like a jazz singer?
That's
Maybe
Or a
not.
sneaker brand.
Sneaker brand, PJ Souls.
oh, well played. I like
Yeah.
that. You got Nancy Keys as Annie Brackett, Charles Cyphers as Sheriff Lee Brackett, Kyle Richards as Lindsay Wallace, Brian Andrews as Tommy Doyle, John Michael Graham as Bob Sims, Nancy Stevens as Marion Chambers, Arthur Mallet as Angus Taylor, not Mullet, but Mallet as Angus Taylor.
I gotta stop you. It's funny, like
Go for it.
every time, like when there's a name that kind of Matt will look up and I'll look up. Now, Marion Chambers, was she a porn star or?
No, she was from the 70s. I don't like Chambers was the last name, but I don't know what the exact first name was.
That was Marilyn Chambers.
Marilyn Chambers. Ah, okay. Because it's funny, like, and that's like the third or fourth time that
I'm pretty sure that Marilyn Chambers was behind the green door.
I'm in the caravan on the way to Maryland.
Yeah. It's definitely some of these names that you remember growing up.
Yeah, growing up, they like sounds naughty. It sounds so
it's
dirty.
A bad name, yeah. Sorry.
She's a whore. You got Mickey Yablans as Richie Castle, Brent LePage as Lonnie Elam, Adam Hollander as Keith, Sandy Johnson as Judith Margaret Myers.
I think you have everybody that's been in this movie.
Almost
everybody.
Almost there. You got David Kyle as Danny Hodges, Peter Griffith.
Peter Griffith.
That's right, Peter Griffith
Yeah.
as Morgan Strode, and Robert Phelan as Dr. Terrence Wynn.
Oh.
He must have been from like the psych ward or something.
He was the guy, I think. Well, who was the guy that was walking out with Dr. Loomis out of the psych ward when Loomis was going to his car, and he was like, when he jumped in the Beamer,
Here, beware. Whatever.
See you later, Terry.
Yeah.
I guess it's got to be Dr. Terrence Wynn.
Yeah. Is that what it said?
No, I don't know. He does not say see you later, Terry.
Oh, okay. But there was that scene
The
where
made up scene that was cut.
after Michael escaped from the psych ward or whatever, and he was there kind of questioning. They were walking out together to Loomis's car. I wonder if that's him, but anyway.
Could very well be.
Loomis was good in this movie.
Yeah,
I
so
liked his role.
he was great.
Yes.
He was great. So as far as like the what do you call it?
Fun facts.
The fun facts.
Fun facts.
That's what I think most people are probably here for, because everybody I hope that likes horror movies has seen this, because this is, like we said, to me, the ultimate. Like,
usually
one,
we talked about this. When people are listening right now, it's pretty much because they're into the movies that we talk about. So they've seen it.
Right.
They just want to hear fun facts.
This movie for damn sure was the inspiration for so many 80s movies, bad guys, and even thereafter. Like, this movie wrote the book on how to have a very, very bad, evil antagonist and just that horror movie persona.
The feel, the presence.
Yeah, there's just not enough you can say great about this movie.
So the the iconic mask. Now we all know, I'm sure you two know who that is. We can tell, so they know. But if you don't know,
now you know.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Don't tell them what?
Who the mask is, the actual face. Did you not know?
So the
hell are you talking about?
The mask.
Michael Myers mask.
Michael Myers mask. So when the prop department was looking around trying to find what are we going to make this guy look like, we got to put a mask on this guy.
Oh, and
we only got a budget of got a budget of $300,000. Like you look, you got to make every dollar count here. So they paid $1.98
for the plain Jane.
And they got themselves a Captain Kirk, aka William Shatner mask.
Did you not know that?
I did not know that.
Oh
really?
My God, really?
Yeah, so they took the mask, painted it white, dumbed it down, dyed the hair, messed up the hair.
So that's Captain Kirk?
100%.
100%. I thought you would have known that. And I mean, I'm sure there's people that don't know that. That's why I was one of the first.
Like the one helping podcast. It's time for me. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I enjoyed my time here.
If I were William Shatner, I'd be pretty, I don't know if I'd be pissed or I'd be, humbled.
Does he get half of the week's check when they're like playing these?
Easy. I don't know. It looks like Dave's got something to say.
Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, but it's in there.
Sounds like it's your thunder.
You want me to
By all
talk
means.
about it? So he did find out, and he wasn't happy that it was his likeness or that he thought. So he actually
I'm so mad.
He was going to hit him.
That is my likeness.
He said it like that. He was going to hit him with a lawsuit, and they settled out of court.
Okay.
But here's the thing. He donated the money to charity, and they settled out of court. But they didn't even have to do that. They come to find out that he has no rights to the likeness of Captain Kirk. It's Captain Kirk, not William Shatner. So by law, I guess, when they actually looked at it, I don't know why their legal team didn't look at it.
Yeah, they gave away all this money for nothing.
For nothing. Yeah, he had no case, but he was not happy about it for sure.
The law can be tricky.
Yeah. But I have a couple other people here that were actually up for running for the mask of who they were going to use. So I know two of the names. The one I had to look up. So I asked maybe one of you guys would know this one before I tell you who it is. But we all know Richard Nixon. They were going to use a Nixon mask. They were going to maybe use a Spock mask.
Which
Spock
had been
from
sold
Star
right
Trek.
next to the Captain Kirk mask.
Right. And then this last one I had
the same aisle.
Yeah, it would have been probably. The last one here I had to look up who he was, but then once I saw it, I'm like, oh, I've seen that before. Emmett Kelly. Do you know who Emmett Kelly is?
I know the name. I'm missing it right now.
Yeah, so Emmett Kelly, do you know?
Mm-mm.
So he was like a clown, like a hobo clown from like the 50s. He would be on TV on that type stuff. And he was that hobo with like the frowny face and like and he would be carrying the stick in the bindle, that type stuff. And when you would see this mat, if I would pull it up online, you would go, "Oh, I've seen that a million times."
For sure.
The sad with
yeah, exactly. So they were going to use that mask, I guess, and then they settled on the.
Is that like the clown that John Wayne Gacy? Am I thinking of
similar? I think no. Well, John Wayne would paint his face. Actually, this guy did too, but
was it an actual mask of the guy that it's a painted face mask?
It was his face, but the way they would do the paint kind of make it like he was frowning, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're listening, look it up.
Was a hobo.
Yeah, he was a hobo. Basically looked like stubble and all that, and then it would just look up. If you look it up, like just look up Emmett Kelly mask, and you'll know right away.
So like I have stubble and I'm sad all the time. You call me a hobo?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I know, right? You guys got anything?
I mean, there's tons, right? So
yeah, we're just getting we're just
into it. I mean,
yeah. This is we're just getting warmed up. We're still in the
do we have
early stages.
We got all kinds of stuff. I mean, how about we for those who haven't seen or just to take people down memory lane, why don't we walk through some of the plot and see how we get to where we're going?
Right. So the opening scene is with young Michael, probably 6 years old, they say,
playing in the house.
Yeah, and his sister,
perhaps maybe sister.
Yeah, which is an ongoing theme in this movie. If you're, which they're insinuating, maybe there was a hookup going on.
No,
before they
were just like close.
I don't know. He was up in a room.
Yeah, but
and Michael grabs a knife out of the kitchen and heads up the steps, and his sister's there like topless. So Judith Myers was there doing her hair or whatever, and he just starts stabbing her. Now, I did read something, and I didn't even really think about this. I mean, she was supposed to be probably like 18, 19 years old, I would figure, and he's 6. Like, she didn't fight back. She just kind of like let him stab her. And
well, he does have like super human powers.
At 6 years old, though, was he?
Well, I mean, he is this guy.
If he's on a mission. I mean, if he's possessed enough, if you put your mind to anything, you can get it done, right? So maybe he was just that diligent.
So the $300,000 budget, half of that went towards the cameras, the Panavision, Panaglide.
Yeah.
So for that scene, they had used that Panaglide system to kind of give you that feeling that you're walking with him
You're
through the
in
house
it,
and all that. And they had to film it in like, I think it was 2 or 3 parts.
Like a first-person shooter.
Right. And the house was actually, it was decrepit like you see it throughout the movie. That scene from the beginning was actually filmed at the end. They went in and fixed it up, put electric to it, running water, did all that, and then filmed that beginning scene in the end, basically. So that's how the movie starts. He basically kills his teenage sister, comes out front, parents come home. He's holding a knife, no blood on him. He just stabbed her to death, blood on the knife, and she's dead. And
time to go to the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to
So
put
who
you
wants
away.
to take it from here?
No, man. I mean, we're so dude goes off to the loony bin, or what we would affectionately call the loony bin.
Yeah.
Years go by, and all the while he had been working with a very caring, very thoughtful Dr. Sam Loomis, as played by Donald Pleasance, who over the course of his years at this asylum, Dr. Loomis learns a whole lot about Michael Myers.
Yeah, him and Mike are pretty close.
Yeah.
They're buddies.
They're close to the extent that he knows that this guy is, there's no fix in this one.
Pure evil.
Yeah, this
Evil.
guy is, thank you, Matt. This
pure
guy is
evil.
pure evil. He is permanently broke.
Now, I've heard
Broken.
of drinking games. I don't believe I've ever partaken in it, but where you take a drink every time he says evil during the movie, you get pretty drunk.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because he drops that line a lot.
Yeah. That's the only way you can describe.
Young Michael.
Yeah, young Mike is just evil.
So this is 15 years later, so you figure he's like 21 now.
Yeah, he gets antsy to pantsy.
Yeah.
He breaks his way out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Breaks his way out of the loony bin.
On a dark and stormy night.
So that Dr. Loomis is coming up with a nurse, and they're in like that station wagon, and they're there to transport him to like another, was it like a higher security prison, or I forget exactly. I mean, I've seen it
I don't know why you're
times.
trying to move him. I don't know what's,
It was by law, by something legally
because
they
he
had
wasn't
to do. And Loomis,
he wasn't a kid anymore.
yeah, because the nurse was like, "Look, why are we even doing this if he's never going to get out?" And questioning it. And when they show up to, what do you call it?
Asylum.
The asylum, there's patients out. She's like, they normally let them graze, like,
That's right.
yeah, in the middle of the night, and it's raining out.
Graze.
Yeah, graze. So these patients are out, and Loomis,
Patience, no loitering. Back to your cells.
Just a little patience.
So Loomis knows right away, like, something's up. So that scene where they pull up to the gate and Michael kind of scales the car. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gets on the roof.
So do you guys know about the part with window breaking?
It was, so he had if I'm not mistaken, he had like a hammer in his hand.
Yes.
Like slid down his sleeve.
It was like a wrench.
I'm sorry, a tool of
A
sorts.
tool, yeah.
That was down his sleeve, and it was like on the palm of his hand or somewhere, maybe, magic pump fist or whatever, that, there's this wrench there, and forget special effects. Like, you're punching through this glass, but you're using this tool to do it.
The wrench.
So your hand's going to go through glass. Just be ready for it.
Yeah, they had painted the wrench. I just watched it, actually, to catch that part. I do remember hearing about that.
Like a hand type color. It was.
Yeah, they painted it, like the color close enough, but you can really see it. Like, if you go back and watch this movie, and these little parts we're talking about, look for this stuff. I just went and watched it because I had read up the facts, which I knew a lot of these. This is what's cool about this movie. It's definitely up there with my favorite horror movie, but definitely one of my favorite movies. Goodfellas is my favorite movie
But this
of all
is up
time.
there with
But this is up there. This is definitely my favorite horror movie. So a lot of these facts I was aware of even before the internet, just from word getting around, and you love a movie, so everybody loves it. You talk about it, you hear rumors and stuff. But that scene, I think I heard that, but I reading, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go watch that. And sure enough, there it is. You can see the wrench in the palm of his hand, and he smacks the window, or the car window, of the station wagon. So one part of which they do reference when Loomis goes back to talk to the doctor there is like, how did he learn to drive?
Yeah. No, it's true.
It's not that hard.
I remember watching this movie not too long ago. In fact, it was probably this time last year, or within the last year I'd seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I asked the same question.
Yeah, like,
how the hell did he learn how to drive?
Well, he's just pure evil. So I'm sure, like, he just, like, I need to drive somewhere to kill people. He's going to do it.
he's gonna do it.
Yeah.
But how did
It's like the Matrix. So, like,
Yeah.
he just downloaded it?
he just plugged in the evil USB into the back of his head, and all of a sudden I know kung fu.
And
I
just
know
does
how to
it.
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could have been something like that.
Maybe he always dreamed about it. Like when he was locked up, he's like, he finally got that chance. Maybe he read about it, might have had a good library.
I mean,
you never know.
Like you said, it's not, I don't think it's
not that hard.
to figure out, but it's not like flying a plane or something, I guess. Like where you get behind, there's so much instrumentation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's basically, if the car's running.
There's gas, brake, wheel.
Yeah. And plus, I guess if you're in there, maybe they're still teaching them a curriculum.
Some said they have a library in there, right?
Sure.
So maybe they
if you're
teach.
in there for, 6 to 21?
There's
so, yeah.
Correspondence course to get your bachelor's degree, I'm sure.
He was reading a lot.
Right.
He was probably taking some welding courses.
So that starts out, it's I think it's the setting and everything. That's a great scene in the beginning. It's kind of sets the mood. It's, okay, this guy's escaped. And then they flash to Haddonfield.
Yeah, nice little town.
Yeah, Halloween, October 30th. So, or was it the 31st, the day of Halloween when I think it was
30th?
It would have been the 30th was when he escaped. And then the 31st was the day of Halloween, I guess, when they showed Lord.
Jamie Lee Curtis is walking down the street.
Right. It's the morning of Halloween, basically. Because all this movie takes place
over the course of one day.
One day.
Yeah.
Right. So they did that not just for budget reasons, too, because they didn't have to worry about wardrobe changes and all that. She actually had a budget of, I don't know if they even gave her but she went to JCPenney's to get like an outfit, and that was just what she wore,
That's all you need.
Yeah, they kept everything very simple in this movie, and
sometimes less is more.
You're right, and
especially for a timeless horror movie.
Right,
the less you do, the better it usually is.
Right. So they show her walking down the street. Now, did you guys catch all the
Mike in, Mike out, or
okay, go
just on the street?
Talking about the time of year, or
they did film in the spring, and this is supposed to be in the fall in Illinois, but they filmed this movie like a street back off the Sunset Strip. So in the background, there's palm trees. And
palm trees there. She's walking down.
Right.
Yeah,
I remember that one. Yeah.
So that's one of the facts that we knew about. My buddies and I, we would talk about for years and years, like back in the day when we would watch this. Like there's palm trees back there
in Illinois.
Yeah, and they actually did that. The copy that I have here that actually Matt, we didn't even do yet.
No, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But that actual copy of the movie, the colorization on it is horrible. The way they did the movie, because it's so vibrant and green, it's just not natural for October in Illinois.
That's
the trees are just way too
everything
green.
Is way too green. The grass is green. Right. Everything's just really nice and California-esque.
Mm-hmm. Even the structures and the houses and stuff.
So speaking of structures, I went to visit family out in California the summer between 6th and 7th grade, right? So I go out there and I'm running around with my cousins out there and, riding bikes, doing whatever. They say, hey man, you want to go, we can ride by the school, where we go to school. Cool. Sounds good. So we go to this school and there's a courtyard in the middle of this school. It's this flat ranch, looks like a U of buildings. Mm-hmm. And there's this grassy, beautiful courtyard in between all of these buildings. And essentially these kids are walking around outside because it's California,
right?
Because it's hot and you can constantly do that. They don't get snow there. So to me, having seen that, and then, X number of years later, watching Halloween again, when you see it, it's like, yeah, that's a California school.
Yes.
That type of structure does not belong, and you will not find it in Illinois.
Right. That makes sense. I didn't even think about that. But
because you have family in Chicago.
There's that too.
So you knew both sides of the street there.
You just know. Well, you just know, with or without the family in Chicago. Although Matt, very good point. You're not going to find that type of school setting.
Yeah, like it's that 50 style flat.
Correct.
Yeah.
In a cold environment. Because people don't go walking around in the cold like that.
It's all going to be contained.
It's all inside, like it's the schools we went to.
Plus, flat roofs in a snowy area. Right. It won't work.
It's not going to hold it.
No.
Before we forget, the synopsis, Matt. So this is from the 25th anniversary DVD that I have. I do have the VHS somewhere.
Looking at it, it's a beautiful DVD. Just like the 25 anniversary edition, Halloween.
Mm-hmm. I paid top dollar for that back in the
photo
day.
is, I think I might get that tattoo.
They did a good job on that.
It's great.
Much like a lot of movies, I bought the first release. I bought a DVD player when they first came out. And did
you have Blu-ray ever?
I did. I have Blu-ray still.
Yeah.
The first two movies I bought were Evil Dead and Halloween.
Awesome.
So 1998, I guess I got those movies, just learning about aspect ratios and all that. So I bought a movie of copy of Halloween. Well, it's full screen, which at the time was fine. So full screen is the aspect ratio basically for 4:3 televisions, like the old square
Sony Trinitrons.
Sure. Correct. So like that.
Cathode ray tubes.
Right. So then you think, oh, well, I'll just get the widescreen version. So then you buy another copy, much like the one in between of this one, I think. And then, okay, well, this is widescreen, so it's going to be good.
Or letterboxed.
Yep.
Right. That also.
But then that's still not good enough, because then you got to get anamorphic widescreen, which then that will fill your modern HD televisions that came out. Like,
Can you explain anamorphic?
It's just basically like if you put a widescreen without zooming it and distorting the picture, if you got a standard full frame, it's 1.33, I think it is, for the 4:3, like the old school console televisions, or like the ones. And then they have like 1.851 or 1.781. That's the widescreen aspect ratio. Now this is all nerdy stuff, but I think
people love this stuff, man.
But you'll still have the bars top and bottom, but you'll still have them on the sides unless you zoom it out. It's not anamorphic, means like it kind of spreads and will fill up your screen without distorting the picture.
So yeah, it's not when they, like some of the first ones you got when they stretched the whole picture before they letterboxed it, and then everything was weird towards the edges, and you're missing parts.
So this one here says like widescreen. So this was in a 2.351 aspect ratio, enhanced for 16:9 TVs, which are your modern, like your HD tele before even 4K and all that. So this basically would not give you any bars on the sides, top and bottom, or normal, because these movies are as they were in the theater. That theater screen is,
Those were the flat screen or the concave.
Right.
Concaved a little bit, but they had the 500-pound backing where you couldn't like ever lift them up. Those ones, yeah.
Right. And then depending on the movie, like some movies are in a wider, like think of your epic movies like your Lawrence of Arabia or something, where they're in a wider aspect ratio, versus like a comedy would be in a less bars at the top and bottom. But long story short, I had to buy this movie.
Too late.
Yeah,
I know.
We're already in the long story.
I had to buy 3 of these basically
My
to get
goodness.
it to then Blu-ray came out. So anyway.
No, that's good.
Look what we learned today.
Yeah.
No, what were the big ones called? It looked like a record, but they actually went into
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc.
Yeah. Yep.
That didn't catch on long. That didn't stay for.
No, people had them, and then they had one before that. It was like a big cartridge thing. I remember
Nintendo.
my babysitter. No, it was a movie. You had to flip the actual whole cartridge over.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
Huh?
Yeah, it was
floppy disk.
No, it was a big self-contained tape, like huge, like the size of a Laserdisc. You would put this cartridge in, shut it, watch the movie, and like it would only store like 45 minutes, let's say, and then you'd have to flip it to the other side to finish the movie.
I have never seen that.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I'll look it up then.
But yeah, this is the Halloween 25th anniversary edition. One of the scariest movies of all time. Halloween was, and ever shall be the alpha and omega of boogeyman flicks. 25 years ago, director John Carpenter changed the shape of terror forever with the immortal story of a babysitter, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, Dr. Sam Loomis, Donald Pleasance, is that how you guys said it?
Mm-hmm.
Pleasance.
Donald Pleasance, and the night that Michael Myers came home. Roger Ebert still proclaims it superb. Entertainment Weekly calls it the granddaddy of teen slasher flicks, still more primal and frightening than any other gazillion knockoffs. 25 years later, Halloween remains one of the greatest horror movies ever made. Should I read more? It's just more about the landmark 24th anniversary edition.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just stunning, high new definition, 25th anniversary. But the first part's basically, one of the scariest movies.
Right. And like this, like I said, being an anniversary edition, this is it's called Divimax. So they went in and enhanced the movie, but made it worse. Actually, the coloring, like I said, is way off on this copy.
Interesting.
They took the, like I said, the trees and it's just like neon almost. It looks horrible.
Where we took like the graininess and the original structure of the way the filmmaker wanted to do it, minus the palm trees.
Right. It's horrible.
And like fake leaves blowing everywhere, which was bothersome.
And you would think buying that at the time, I was like, oh yeah, and it costs more. You're like, oh, it must be better.
Sure.
Oh, no, it's not. But yeah, so Halloween, like I said, great. Like my favorite. Like I said, I own it on 3 copies of DVD. I have it on VHS. I don't know if I did ever buy it on Blu-ray because, I've bought it so many times. And now it's streaming. Like I went online to watch this. If you just go on your Fire TV or whatever and just Halloween, there's a free app now you can watch it with commercials and stuff. But it was edited, I guess. So I got
That's anything now. A lot of
the
the knockoff, like the Tubies and stuff that we can see a lot of. Well, I mean, Halloween's a pretty big movie, but the smaller ones, you got a couple commercials here and there, but it's just to pay for their
Now, this one I was
free
actually
streaming, I guess.
surprised that I was able to get it on like a free service. Now, I did have commercials because a lot of times they'll capitalize on the time of year and they'll have this on, like you got to rent it. Like Poltergeist, I think it was on HBO Max.
HBO Max.
But otherwise, like I don't have HBO right now. I had to rent it. But Halloween, I was like, well, it's October. They're probably going to. But no, I was able to get it on this free.
But now it is. It's October. It's Halloween season. If you want to look at some really cool horror movies for free right now, if you got HBO Max, Prime Video, Tubi, they have a lot of good classics playing right now. You can watch.
'Tis the season to be scary.
So let me ask your guys' opinion. So to me, this is like my favorite horror movie. Where does this rank for you guys? And what would, if not at the top, what is your top horror movie? And just out of curiosity.
So I for sure appreciate this movie beyond words. Like I alluded to earlier, this set the bar. This was the genesis, right? This was of so many movie bad guys to come after. What'll make this, I can't say my favorite horror, but pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. I loved the way that I know we were talking about Panavision earlier. I love the way that through so much of this movie, you are looking through the eyes of Michael Myers. So to put you in that first person perspective, like it's almost like, oh, I understand what creepy, scary dude is doing. That in and of itself, when you put the viewer into the eyes and into the outfit and into the mindset of the killer, like that's going to scare you too. You know, if you have any kind of conscience about you.
Right.
Now that I'm thinking about it, favorite horror movie. I gotta go old school, man. I gotta go Psycho.
Psycho? Yeah. The original one, right? The 60s.
The OG. Now that's not to be confused with my favorite suspense, which would likely be also an Alfred Hitchcock classic, Rear Window.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Jimmy Stewart.
Correct.
We mentioned him earlier.
Correct.
Well, between us, but that's an excellent movie.
Yeah. I mean, Hitchcock, man, he's the man.
We have to do a Hitchcock or a couple, like we should do like a Hitchcock trilogy of something like each of us pick our top Hitchcock movie.
Sure.
And go through we'll call it month of Hitchcock.
Yeah, Hitchcock. He was the man for sure. I mean, there's a lot of his movies that I haven't seen that I probably should. You know, I saw the major ones. I'm pretty sure I saw the one you're talking about. And The Birds, right? That was one. And,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
we even to talk about him, like he was a little off, eclectic. He was a strange cat, man.
Yeah, he was also pretty Weinsteiny with his
ladies.
With his female
for real?
cast.
Yeah, he was very touchy-feely.
Wow.
He's like, do you need this part? How bad do you need this part?
Yeah.
Do you want to be in this movie? Okay. But yeah, he was a little creepy.
So how about for you?
As far as slasher type,
just in the genre in general.
Horror movie, man.
Like horror movie.
Yeah, horror. It's up there. Yeah, the first one was very scary. Overall, like scared shitless
well,
type.
no, I wouldn't even say, I wasn't even really, like this movie does not scare me more than, say, The Exorcist. But I'm just talking about as far as I will sit down and watch this movie, kind of like we talked about, what was the other movie we were saying? You were talking about
just over and over and over again. I'll seek it out like Clue.
Right,
Clue for me.
Right.
I will seek Clue out, even if it's it's on from time to time. Don't get me wrong, it's on rando. But if I'm missing it or I just have that, I could really just go for some Clue right now. I'll pop that in.
You'll just revisit it. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I'm obviously, as you've stated, you're doing that same thing with Halloween.
Pretty much.
So with that in mind,
okay,
what's your favorite? Doesn't have to, whatever it is, just off the top of your head, your favorite horror movie.
I do like Myers. Jason, the
Friday 13th.
Yeah, the first Friday the 13th. Those two really, they're close. They're very close. I would say Jason over Myers. Talking pure scared factor, where like I didn't want to go down the steps when I was a kid. Probably The Exorcist.
Yeah, well, see that. Yeah, that would probably be one of the more scary.
Like I said, as a kid, I didn't sleep for like a couple weeks after seeing that. I was like, that shit's real. The Omen too. Anything based on like just like the religious type factor between stuff.
Something coming
just from growing up. Knowing
once you put the fear of God in you about it,
yes. Once there's like this guy's overstepping God boundaries into Devil Town.
You grow up Catholic, and all of a sudden you see the devil
Yeah.
And then somebody, that's going to scare you, man, because look, you've been scared your whole life growing up that the devil is out there, the devil exists.
And back then, like, you would grab the old encyclopedias off the shelf or look in the library,
You could get
and
them.
you'd read into like actual possessions. And I remember doing that as a kid, seeing The Exorcist. Not kid, but 12, 11, somewhere in there.
That's still kid.
No, but
And the shit was scary. But I put Myers and Jason up there.
they're up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
almost, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. It was,
More than Freddy. Freddy was kind of
yeah,
goofy.
it was a
Freddy
little
was
campy and
very
different.
campy.
But I mean, this kind of influenced all the. Actually, talking about Friday the 13th, this obviously influenced them to make that horror movie like that. But they actually made it a little more gory. That showed more of the kill scenes. That showed more blood. If you remember the very first kill in Friday the 13th, where she got her neck
cut.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and all that. If you look at Halloween, there's not really much gore in it. It's all implied, or like they cut real, quickly. You see the aftermath, maybe the knife sticking in somebody.
Because special effects cost money,
Yeah,
and they had
they-
a very
they did
slim
low budget.
limited amount.
But the things that frightened me about like the Halloween and Friday the 13th was the actual, when the crazy person, the devil, the murderer is after you. Like, you're running, you're going nuts, you're trying to find your way out of places, you're taking off, and this person's just chilling, like walking as slow as can be.
Yep.
Never has to run, never has to chase you, yet they're always there. That's one of the things that I always found cool about
So
these slashers.
speaking of the bad guy coming after you, when last we left Michael Myers, he had just broken through a window and carjacked a station
Wow, is that where we
wagon.
were at?
Oh yeah, way back at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, then we talked about the next morning. Laurie Strode woke up.
And we're going down the
walking
street, get ready
and
to
all that.
school, palm
And
trees.
At this point, she's in school, kind of daydreaming and stuff, and
Looks out the window.
there he is.
Mhm.
Michael Myers. At that point, in between the breakout from the insane asylum and coming to Haddonfield, he had
Killed a mechanic.
killed a mechanic and stole his outfit and
his
all
jumpsuit.
Yeah,
That.
he got the jumpsuit on. He's
His
ready to go.
Carhartt.
Mm-hmm. So at this point,
So where did the mask come into place?
So he got Michael Myers broke into a hardware store, and in the hardware store, it was he got everything he needed in the hardware store. He got himself a knife, he got himself rope, and he got himself a mask.
Yeah, it was like one-stop shopping.
Yep.
All in
But what
town.
was the mask at the I don't understand that part. What was it like for?
Halloween.
It was Halloween. They were probably
So they
just
had some
selling
Halloween
it.
stuff
They
out
put
there.
That little
Okay.
rack set up for.
Okay.
Now, one thing I didn't catch, because they don't show his face, like when he shows up to, when he was looking in at Lori, you could see the mask. But remember when the little boy was at school and he's pulling up in the car?
And he has the mask in his.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. The little boy's
Pocket.
walking with his friends, and they have a pumpkin. And the one boy runs off, and I think they drop it or something. And when the one boy is running, Michael Myers grabs him. It's like middle of the day, but they don't show his face. They don't show him from the neck.
But the kid gets to go. Like, he doesn't do
Well,
anything.
he lets
to
the
him.
kid
Yeah,
go.
he lets the kid go.
But then he continues to walk along the fence, and you just see him from the neck down. And he jumps in his car then, and it's kind of like stalking the boy along the. But they don't show if he has the mask on yet. So I don't know at what point that he actually got the mask, if he already had it yet, or if they just weren't showing it. But definitely when he was stalking Lori,
He
at
had the mask
school,
on.
and then at home, like when he hides behind the bush and jumps out,
And then she sees him. Then he's gone.
he has the mask on.
He does a lot of that. He does a lot of that, like foreplay.
Well,
Yeah.
sure. So it's it's little subtleties like that make this movie so scary.
Yeah.
So the suspense is growing in you because you only see it's essentially a torso, a body. What does this guy's face look like? What I gotta know, because this got to be the scariest guy of all time. And then finally, later in the movie, you get to see the guy's face.
Boom,
what?
shakalaka.
It's not, it's not up front.
Right. So, yeah, actually, speaking about that, there's a lot of people that if you ask them about the reveal, when she pulls off the mask, they said that his face is like deformed from their memory, but actually it's not.
No.
It's just actually the guy that was playing him. I guess he had a little cut or something. Or
Yeah, it wasn't
from where he
anything.
went.
Yeah. They're confusing. These are people who saw this obviously years and years and years ago and who have since seen the deformities of Jason,
Friday.
Freddy,
Yeah.
you name it, Leatherface, so it's amazing how your mind
Just mixes it.
mixes it all together. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, at this point, she's meeting up with her friends and they're walking home. And the one reference that my buddies and I used to always joke around about was this Ben Tramer reference. I don't know if you guys remember that when she was talking to her friends. And one of her friends makes a reference about going to the dance or going somewhere with going on a date with this Ben Tramer. And you never see this guy. He's just like a name that they brought up like during the movie, and we just always talk about Ben Tramer, like Ben Tramer. I don't know. I just thought it was like a funny.
What was the reference?
It was just in the movie. They're talking about this Ben Tramer character.
Is he like a pimp dad? Or is
He
he
was
like
just some
cool dude? Or?
He was just some guy that went to their high school or whatever.
Oh.
But you never see him. He never come. He has no part in the movie. But I'm pretty sure that in here I did read that it was from like.
We should do a Halloween remake called Find Ben Tramer.
Yeah,
he's still out there.
There was something in here. It might
It's
be
an old college friend of John Carpenter.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I knew it was a lot of these names in Halloween were like references from his childhood, or growing up, or people he knew. Laurie Strode, I think, was his first girlfriend, or
which
college girlfriend.
Most directors do.
Yeah,
is add like stuff from their childhood growing up,
or put like a girl's name. Just to flex.
They
shout out.
Yeah, like a little shout out.
Well, but I see what you're saying though. It's like, hey, I'm this big director now. Insert name of girlfriend who dumped me.
Right.
You know, what do you think of me now?
Yeah.
Put them.
Call
in
me
there.
up. I'll block your call. If they had that back then, I don't even know.
Yeah,
that was the thing.
Yeah, so at that point, like basically she's walking home. They're making plans for that night, or whatever.
But she has to babysit.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And that puts a wrench.
And the little boy that she's babysitting actually comes back as Tommy Doyle. He's in one of the later films. Then he's grown up or whatever.
Yes,
they kind of reference him later on. But yeah, she's like babysitting and stuff. But the whole theme of this movie, like from the very beginning, and actually when they asked Carpenter and Deborah Hill, they had no intent of this actually being something that they mean to portray, is that if you have sex, you're going to die, basically, like the morality of it.
Were they saying this was the movie that started that?
Well, it's one of the first ones, like in the very beginning, like we said, the sister, Michael Myers' sister, we're assuming was doing something, messing around, maybe. Promiscuous, let's just say. Yes. She ends up dead. And then if you look through the movie, through Halloween, as these kids end up getting together then that night and
slapping it.
Right. And as each one's finishing up, they end up dying. Well, who's the one that doesn't do anything?
Well, they shouldn't be having premarital sex in the first place.
Laurie Strode. And of course, you saw this. So this is just gratuitous sex, of course.
Right.
It's throwaway sex. And it later became, as you would just mention, it becomes the signal. Like, hey, if you're not, think of it, Friday the 13th, Freddy, any one of them. If you're having this gratuitous sex, this throwaway sex, well, you know who's going to die.
Yeah, you're next.
Because the evil preys on that.
And even in Scream, which they modeled a lot after all this, and this was kind of like they referenced that as if you have sex in a horror movie, you're going to die.
But I remember being younger, if you were watching any of these movies, you would see boobs.
Mm-hmm. It was just a guarantee.
It was a guarantee.
Yeah. And from the very beginning, the sister, what I mean?
In the room.
She's nude. And then, we have nudity after that. I think PJ Souls is the one that, I think she was the actress that
was the friend.
Yeah, he goes
that lived
down,
across the street.
Right. When they're hanging out at the house, and he goes down to get drinks, and then comes back up with Michael comes up with the sheet over him and the glasses and stuff. But yeah, so at any rate, she ends up babysitting that night. And
was the first kill going into that? Was that in the laundry room?
I think the first kill was the dog.
The German Shepherd.
Yeah. And then the first human kill was the dude that he hung up on the door, like on the wall.
Stabbed him, yeah. Kent, was it Kent?
Yes.
No, Kent. I'm thinking of...
Real Genius.
Real Genius. He kind of looked like him with the glasses.
It was Val Kilmer.
So I think if that's who we're talking about, that would have been the scene where he put the sheet over him.
Right.
He glasses on.
He went upstairs and he pulled the Revenge of the Nerds thing where he wears the Darth Vader mask into the fun house and
for Smoochy Poos.
Bangs the football player's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, body count was 7.
Nice.
I knew that.
So we have, of course, the sister in the beginning, Judith. And then we have the truck driver in the red pickup truck that when Dr. Loomis.
Well, obviously, then I'm going to retract every statement I said about the dude getting hung on the wall being the first human kill.
Well, no, you meant like in that evening. I'm thinking.
Yes,
yeah,
that's what I was thinking of, the babysitting evening. But this was all stuff he was getting warmed up.
No, there's 2 dogs here. So there's a German Shepherd.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember what's that.
And I swear to God, someday I am getting a dog. I want a dog.
Yeah, that was a cool.
They're a lot of work.
There was something they said
too. I don't have
too.
one because they're a lot of work.
They are. I used to have one, and they are, but they're great. But there were 2 dogs, so I'm trying to remember.
They get killed by a crazy person.
Oh man, that ain't cool.
That German Shepherd. They said the way they filmed that was like in slow motion. I guess the owner of the dog, dropped the dog, but they slowed it down.
Oh.
And it made it look like it was kind of slowly going down. So Linda Vander Klock. Yeah.
What was she in the 70s porn industry?
Well, I think that was PJ Souls.
Oh,
Yeah, so that would have been
I thought it was Linda Vanderklok.
So Linda Vanderklok was the one who was the victim of the of Michael Myers as he was wearing the ghost mask.
ghost. Yeah, she was laying in there, sitting in the bed topless, with a rack out and all that. That was another nude scene, and that was after
Gratuitous nudity.
Yeah. So Bob Sims, and that would have been the boyfriend,
Okay.
I believe, and then Annie Brackett would have been the other girl.
I was just vicious in the beginning.
But nowhere near what he kills now in these new movies. Like the kill total in some of these newer ones, which I haven't seen the latest or even the second to latest one. But
you should see the kill total in that new Rambo movie.
Oh yeah,
that's it's interesting. I'm just sitting here listening to all of this, and that's the first thing that comes to mind is Rambo. So you got Rambo, you got First Blood. Okay, there's some kills in there. Then you got First Blood Part 2. Okay, like twice as many kills, and then as it keeps going and going and going, just multiplies but exponentially based on essentially, I'm guessing the installment of the series.
It just gets to the point where they gotta keep upping it and upping it.
Yet those aren't horror movies,
right?
They're just like every day.
Obviously, I get that. It's
everyday look.
It is to correlate and to circle back to what David mentioned with respect to in the newer Halloween installments. You see more and more.
You need more killing.
Yeah, so I mean, at that point, she realizes what's going on. That there's a killer on the loose and all that, and she has a Tommy there, and kind of gets down to the point where Michael's in the house with her and kind of chasing her around. She ends up, remember, that's like the iconic scene where she's upstairs in the closet and kind of hiding from him, and he kind of busts through. Yeah, was that before? I'm trying to remember. That was before that scene where we
did skip around a bit there, but.
Well, I mean, as far as like going through the whole, like I said,
we're not going to do that.
Yeah, with the whole script and everything. But just talking about like the iconic scenes, like that scene where he gets his mask off. But that's where, like I said earlier, people kind of get confused and they think he's deformed or something like that, but he's not. It's actually and it happens real fast. That's the beauty of DVD and streaming now. You can pause it and like get a good image of it.
I'm thinking of the similarities between like what you're talking about and the again, people thinking that his face was deformed. So the mind's eye is going to see what the mind wants to see, right? It's like if you ask somebody, is there such a thing as Jiffy peanut butter? Well, the answer is, what is the answer?
No, it's called Jif.
That's correct. So there's Jif and Skippy, but some people, if you say, Jiffy,
what's that?
You've heard people say Jiffy peanut butter.
They call it Mandela effect or whatever.
Is that what it is?
Is that what they call that Mandela effect? Where
I'm no scientist.
Nelson Mandela?
Where they have like they have them all the time, like the Mandela effect, where they'll have like the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain, like they spell it the way they spell it.
The Berenstain
they'll show
Bears.
them both, and you'd be like, you might remember it this way, but it was like what he's saying. You just think you remember things a certain way. They call it like the Mandela effect. That's the same thing I'm thinking of. But with that part, yeah, like in my head, I mean, I've seen this movie a bunch of times over the years.
And he for damn sure was not deformed.
No, not at all. Like I said, I know there was like a little part up by his eye, like the one side.
Like a little cut, yeah.
Yeah, but it was
just
nothing.
a regular guy.
Yeah.
Except he was like the devil.
So our boy Donald Pleasance, we were talking about the budget on this was $325. So he supposedly got like between 20 and 25,000 for 18 minutes of screen time. So he was on the screen.
Is that the guy that was drunk?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they said he had to drink wine and
he
stuff.
He had to drink wine.
He was drinking wine for that part where they were driving up to in the beginning when they were driving.
Yeah,
up.
the fact stated was he consumed 2 bottles of wine before doing the scene.
Yeah.
And then, with Michael in the car.
They were concerned if he'd be able to.
Yeah, if he'd be able to understand after 2 bottles of wine.
He was like a pro at it.
18 minutes.
Yeah.
This is like the Orca captain from. So the name of the ship was the Orca, or the name of the boat was
the killer
Orca.
whale or whatever.
So the name of the boat was the Orca. We're going to need a bigger boat.
Oh, from
Jaws.
Yeah.
So that guy, who his name escapes me at this time, he was
a good actor though.
He was a whatever kind of actor. He also had bad tax problems and was a rip roaring drunk. Fun fact,
yeah. Jaws.
Oh, so he was drunk at that part where they're doing.
Oh shit, yeah, he was drinking for real.
Farewell and adieu.
In real life drinking.
Oh,
Fair
God,
Spanish lady.
Yeah.
No, he was a character actor. I think that's what we were looking for. But oh my God, my dad talks about that guy a lot. But actually, there's a re-release of Jaws for anybody listening here that would be into that. I saw it when I was in Nashville on IMAX. It was incredible.
Well, there's a movie that like not. I mean, I don't know if you consider it. I guess it'd be a horror. I don't know if you consider it a horror movie. That's a movie that kind of scared me about going in the ocean.
Yeah,
like, man, hell yeah.
I don't want to go into the pool.
Yeah, back then I was, and even the bathtub. You're like,
you're like, dang,
anything
it's
with
gonna
the water.
Yep.
You know, so if you're talking about something just scaring you, But you talked about Siskel and Ebert and how they pan movies and all that, but I think both of them really liked this. And I forget which one of it was Siskel or Ebert. He lived like a couple blocks from the theater. He didn't want to walk home after it.
Yeah, it was Gene Siskel.
Was it Gene Siskel?
Yeah, got some facts on that.
Yeah, he actually had to take a cab because he was
afraid to walk.
Yeah, he was afraid
because
to walk.
let's not forget, like during this movie, as you know, Laurie's walking around, she sees Michael around every corner, and then all of a sudden he's not there. So you know, I would be just as scared. Like, come on, man. Hell, I might even do that. No, I don't do it anymore. But I mean, there are certainly times where, you know, if I'm scared enough, like I'm looking behind a curtain. You know, I'm looking behind a wall, behind a door.
Well,
yeah, man, you know.
Well, you talked about Psycho. So, like with Psycho, when you're in the shower and you have the curtain closed, you know, do you ever think about that?
Yeah, you see a shadow walking by, like, oh my God, dear God.
Yeah, there's something about being in the shower, especially if you have obviously not a see-through curtain, but you can't see. It's just something about that. You're in the shower, you're naked and all that, and you just feel so
vulnerable.
Vulnerable, yes.
Yep.
In the shower. So Psycho would do that. I think Jaws would do it with going in the water, and Halloween just with the boogeyman being home at night and you hear something.
So as we were talking about Donald Pleasance, you know, having a bit of a drinking problem, which took us down that little road, I see that it's my understanding that there were quite a number of other actors that were considered for the Dr. Loomis role.
Yeah, so you got some there.
I'm looking at a bunch here. I got Peter O'Toole, Mel Brooks.
He would have been good.
That would have been crazy.
Mel Brooks?
Yeah.
Like comedy or
I can't imagine him in a serious role.
What is that, Abe Vigoda?
Yes, Abe Vigoda. Fish from Barney Miller.
Oh, yeah.
Also in The Godfather.
Yeah, he was on the council. He wasn't the conciliare. He was up there.
There was Clemenza, and it was, I think Clemenza, God, I'm kicking myself for not knowing this. Clemenza, I thought, was the shorter, fatter guy that knew how to make the sauce. And this was...
Clemenza, he was in there.
It was the two of them. It was Abe Vigoda and Clemenza. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So you got Walter Matthau, Jerry Van Dyke.
Oh, from Coach.
From Coach, yeah. Lawrence Tierney.
I don't know who that is.
I do not know, but I know who the next couple are. Kirk Douglas.
No, he wouldn't have been good at that.
No.
John Belushi. No, definitely
not.
not.
Like Dennis Hopper, I think would have been great as Loomis.
I think he could have pulled that off.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper would have been good.
Pulled it off. Lloyd Bridges. That's interesting. Chris Christopherson. He could have done it. I think Chris Christopherson could have done it.
David Carradine would have been weird.
He
was Kung Fu. The legend continues.
That's correct. Absolutely true. Charles Napier.
Don't know him.
Charles Napier was...
I know that name.
So Charles Napier played the Riddler in the original Batman.
Yeah,
okay.
That's probably what I know.
He was later featured as one of the scientists in the 12 Monkeys.
Was he in like Westerns too or something like that?
I can't speak to that.
Okay. Because I know the name.
Yul Brenner. And Edward Bunker. Not to be confused with Charlie
Bunker.
Are there Archie Bunker?
Not Charlie Bunker.
Charlie Bunker. His brother.
Archie. Yeah.
All the
Archie
Bunkers.
Bunker.
They're the three brother Bunkers. They're good people.
Archie Bunker, not Charlie Bunker.
Charlie Bunker.
Oh, no, you know what? That came, so that was that Nelson Mandela effect.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually, I was thinking Charlie Bucket from Willy Wonka. And so as Charlie Bucket's working through my head.
It just combined it.
Bunker, right.
That Mandela effect, man, it gets you every time with the bunkers.
There's another one here. There's Christopher Lee. So to all the fans of Christopher Lee out there, you would know him from James Bond, The Man with the Golden Gun, also starring Roger Moore. And for the more recent movies of his, you would know him from Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp. He was the judge that assigned Johnny Depp to go up to Ichabod Crane, to go up to Sleepy Hollow to investigate the murder.
Yep.
And certainly for all of the sci-fi and fantasy fans, we would know Christopher Lee as Saruman from the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh, yeah. And was he, back in the day, like Christopher Lee was in those, like, Hammer movies? Was he in those or not that far back?
I can't
like
speak
the
to
horror
that.
movies and stuff.
Hammer movies.
They call them like the Hammer, like they're like
MC.
Frankenstein, Dracula, all that stuff.
I thought you were being too legit to quit.
MC Hammer, no, Christopher Lee. I might be thinking of somebody else.
I know him from saying Saruman. He was a...
No, you're right on that.
He was a pretty good wizard.
Yeah, when he said that. And then with Sleepy Hollow, which is one that's coming up we're going to do, I did picture it. Right away I could picture him.
Is Sleepy Hollow part of the Halloween extravaganza?
We hope. If there's enough time.
Yeah, love to fit that one in because that is with Johnny Depp. That's a great one.
JD.
Yeah.
So it's again, just to finish up on Christopher Lee, he was later asked about this, that, blah, blah, blah. I understand that you were offered the role, or you were possibly considered for the role. He turned the role down. And he later said that was the biggest mistake of his acting career.
Oh, for real?
The biggest.
Yeah, but who would have known? That's why I said even these people that were making it were probably like, I don't know, it'll make money, but
some of these names that they have on there are reaches, like Mel Brooks, Peter O'Toole.
That wouldn't work.
Well, the better
David
question
Vigoda.
is, would any one of these guys have done it?
Yeah, they don't want to do it for that
25
money.
grand.
Mm-mm.
Probably not. Probably not. So the first showing of this film for its theatrical run was October 25th, 1978, and it was in Missouri. It was in Kansas City. So it opened there, but nowhere else in the country, just there, and it was crazy. It went nuts. And they were like, all right, well, let's expand it, and then they moved theater to theater. And so it rolled out really slowly, and I don't think it was till maybe the next year.
Maybe. I just know that back then, like back in the day, the film companies were the film companies and the movie theaters were the movie theaters. And you had to go, like, you're a salesman. Like, you had to take whatever kind of movie you're trying to peddle, and you had to go door to door to door, theater to theater. Hey man, you want to have this movie? You want to watch this movie? You want to air this movie? That's the way it went. Hell, I remember that as a little kid. You could go from one theater in X part of town and drive 10, 15 miles away. They'd be showing completely different movies.
You had to be a salesman, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I know this
You
movie
had to
took...
you had to peddle that movie.
It's like Tupperware, like
Yeah.
the 25-piece set to the 50-piece set.
Yeah.
What
So
you
this-
feeling?
So this movie didn't really hit then for, at least a year. I mean, it built up steam, and kind of like our podcast.
Well,
I
what
think.
Zap was saying, I wonder how.
Yeah.
Doop, doop, doop.
Yeah.
No, like how you do that? How you go, like, because there's test markets for different. Isn't that how they do it?
I mean,
Like test
so
cities, test markets.
yeah, for sure. That's absolutely the case. Screenings. I believe that's
Screenings,
called.
yeah. Like who dictates like where I'm gonna put one in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm gonna put one in Pottsville, PA, and try one in like
They're
Miami,
going to
Florida.
sell it. So they're going to. This is back in the day. So this is before the monster size of these companies.
So they come to you with like the reel to reels and the
correct.
boxes.
They
and
would
here's some
come to
some plates.
They would pitch the movie.
Wow.
Hey, movie theater owner, do you want this movie here? We'll give you this cut. We'll give you that.
So there's a show, I think it's on Netflix. They have one called The Movies That Made Us. It was on there as well, Halloween. And I watched quite a few documentaries over the years, or like presentations about the making of this movie. And this movie, when it released, was much like a viral. Now, like, say you go see a great movie, you put it on Facebook, or people will post on Facebook. This was viral before anything like that. People were actually leaving the theater and getting on the payphones and calling people like, you got to go see this movie.
That's awesome.
It's just like the craziest thing.
Like the coconut internet.
Right. It was basically people word of mouth and calling as soon as they're leaving the theater and going home and calling everybody they know. Like, I've just seen the greatest horror movie. Like,
It's like when Michael J. Fox was playing like this really cool guitar riff.
Yeah.
A guy called Chuck Berry. And that's
Think of
how,
that.
yeah.
Think of that. Marvin Berry.
Yeah.
Marvin Berry. That was very much like people leaving this movie. So
Saying, hey, man, something's up here.
So it did take time, obviously, to roll out. But once word got around, it doesn't travel like it does now. Obviously, we're all connected and all that. But this took time to build, but it was crazy.
Well worth it, though.
No, it was. So this movie in different markets, because Halloween is more of, at the time, like in the United States, like other countries.
It's an American
didn't
thing.
even know what Halloween was. So like in Italy, it was known as Witches' Night.
Okay.
And originally it was supposed to be called The Babysitter Murders in the U.S. That was the original working title for it. And then they changed it to Halloween.
In Italy, he like choked people out with spaghetti. I heard that was, and they were like,
Stuffed
they
meatball.
couldn't catch on to it.
It's true.
So yeah, obviously this movie was filmed in the spring in California, and they had a hard time getting pumpkins. I think they got 3 of them, they said.
Yeah, and you're searching far and wide for them pumpkins.
Right.
Man.
Pumpkins, they brought in leaves too, I heard.
Yeah,
Like
they
to blow
bring in
leaves around.
and then they would collect them after the scenes and reuse them and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That's
So
hilarious.
there's a lot of that stuff.
So when that kid crushed the one pumpkin
This is-
as he's running away,
That's a one take.
Yeah.
I got to believe that, the director's like, look, man, John Carpenter's like, look, man, don't screw this up. That pumpkin, we had to drive to Peoria to get that goddamn thing.
Pretty much.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, because Amazon's not sending you some more pumpkins.
No, there was no 2-day delivery.
Yeah, man. It's
So-
like talking 2 weeks to get from the East Coast to the West Coast.
So the stabbing sound effect, they actually used a watermelon, stabbing a
Oh,
watermelon.
I thought that was a pumpkin. Yeah.
Yeah.
They use that in Psycho too, correct?
I don't know. I don't know for a fact.
It's an old
on
trick.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably did.
Trick of the trade.
So like Zap said about Christopher Lee, and I don't know, did it say on there about Peter Cushing? He was another one that they.
Oh yeah. Peter
Yeah.
Cushing. So
Yeah.
so for our Star Wars fans, and I'm not even looking at anything, we would find Peter Cushing as. I mean, he's in Star Wars. He is the
Red Leader.
No, he was in the original, and I think he was later superimposed on subsequent movies.
Oh, you're talking about the old dude that hung with
he
Darth
was like
Vader,
Darth Vader's
the Imperial
right-hand
leader.
man.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Peter Cushing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who he hoped to get. Was either Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing were like his first choices for this role. But Pleasance, did a great job. So
Without the
wasn't
wine.
Yeah, without the wine.
He was just messing with him. Like, yeah, good.
I
I was
didn't need
sober.
it.
I made it today. I'm sober today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming in.
So, like I read earlier about Carpenter getting $10,000, Jamie Lee Curtis reportedly got about $8,000 to do this. But I mean, she's since made tons of money on remakes, and
Sure.
she gets
Well, let alone her dad and mom were
she didn't
uber
really
rich
have
at the
to-
time. She didn't
yeah.
need shit.
So, but this was a good, springboard, right?
Mhm.
I mean, this gave her exposure. I think prior to this, if I read correctly, she was doing a television show. I don't know what the show was.
She probably was. I know, like we did a review with a guy on Night of the Lepus, which is like a B movie from the 70s,
Oh, yeah,
and Janet Leigh was in it. It was like a drive-in type horror, these killer rabbits. Bad movie, really. I mean, it's a good movie that's bad. One of them.
Wow.
They wanted Jamie Lee to be in it. She was, I think, 13 or 14
Yeah, she wanted
at
to
the
play
time.
the role of the girl.
So
in it.
Janet Leigh said, "My daughter will never be in a horror movie. I won't allow it." Well,
Yes,
what-
Janet Leigh, Jamie Lee Curtis's
Yeah,
mom,
yeah,
who was
said
married to
that.
Tony Curtis.
Right.
Then you get Jamie Lee.
So what happens?
Janet Leigh, as featured in Psycho,
Yes.
Mhm.
by the way.
And who says this?
Yeah.
And little does she know, 5 or 6 years later, her daughter's now one of the
Mhm.
scream queens of.
I got to believe. So that's got to be a draw. So that's got to be a good draw for this, again, low budget movie, which obviously speaks nothing to the immense quality of the movie. So just got to be a great bonus for them to say, yeah, and starring Jamie Lee Curtis, daughter of Janet Leigh.
Right.
What a great time. I'm sure you all remember Janet Leigh from, Psycho.
Yeah, here we are. What would we say? One Psycho come out in the 60s.
Yeah.
So we'll say, 15 years later,
20,
maybe?
yeah, 20 some years later.
Did she
Yeah.
win anything? Like she was
15, 20 years
She was
later.
fantastic in that.
Who,
Like that.
Jamie Lee?
Oh, that whole movie was done.
What, in Psycho? You
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
She
sure.
had to have won it. I mean-
you would think.
That was incredible.
But yeah, Jamie Lee, Janet's daughter, said no way, and here she is. That's what she's most known for. And
Like, yeah, talking about this movie though, it's going to be. Hopefully, this is it. I think Jamie Lee Curtis is finally done here in 2022. Talking from the year this was released, you said in what?
what's that?
78?
78 was the first one. Yeah.
So this is the last one, maybe
Dear
this
God,
year,
please.
2022. You're talking a long time.
Yeah, you got to stop.
Math
They
stuff.
got to stop wringing this washcloth here.
Yeah,
There's
the-
only
the-
so much they're going to get out of this.
The problem is that people just keep going and seeing it and
It's fair.
watching it. So like they're gonna just keep. They're gonna.
This is borderline Fast and Furious.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm just saying. Look,
Right.
look. Somebody
Don't
was
even
going to
go
say
there.
it. Somebody was going to say it.
how are people still watching that?
It's somebody
Like the
had to
first
say it.
one, kind of cool. Second one, all right, I get it. Then you're
Mm-hmm.
what is it, 14 now, 13?
Well, look at Star Wars, where we're at with that now.
George Lucas, you're a fucking sellout. You are a sellout,
Yeah.
dude. Couldn't you just let it look?
Star
just-
Wars jumped with the first three. Then it got a little.
Dumb.
Some of the side stories aren't that bad. I enjoyed Boba Fett. Thought the guy was
Right.
cool,
Mm.
but
I mean, there's something to be said for leaving you wanting more. I think when you just get like, what do you call it, drowning in it, like it's just so much of content
Yeah.
with whatever it is.
it's all about money, man.
Yeah, and
If you're making money,
I'm at the point in
you'll
my
keep
life.
doing it.
Yeah, I'm at the point in my life now with Halloween. I don't know that I ever really will watch these new ones. I'm not gonna make it a point to go out and seek it, just because it's the same recycled shit over and over and
wash,
over
rinse,
again.
repeat, yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen it done.
Remember when they tried like the Jason versus Freddy and all that other?
Yeah, and I mean that was at
Dumb
least interesting in the fact that they're mashing them together, and it could
But
be,
still,
but still,
it's a lot.
it's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous to begin with.
They're milking these cows for all they're worth.
They are, they are.
The
But,
money cow.
but the original at the time, I mean, watching this movie over and over again every year during Halloween time, and it's just
Very good.
always good.
Mhm.
And I don't know how you could improve on it. And I couldn't imagine seeing this back in the theater in 1978.
Scary.
It probably would have blown my mind. And obviously it's held up over the years. Like my kids have watched it and they both thought it was great. It's just one of those ones that I think will live on forever. But I don't know.
I get the concept of, suspending disbelief. I get that.
Mm.
But how could Michael Myers, after he gets stabbed and shot 6 times, how does he just get up and walk away?
He's the devil.
Right.
Is
Pure
that
evil,
so?
man.
Is that
Yeah.
that's what we're supposed
Yeah,
to?
you can't-
That's truly the suspended disbelief.
There has to be more to killing pure evil. Evil will always exist, just as good will. So you can't really kill evil.
Mm.
So you talked about earlier in the movie when we were talking about the cast is the shape. So did you guys see the fact about the shape and the where they got that? Because I never
from
knew
the
that.
Salem witch trials.
Yes, I didn't know that because I always used to wonder why they call him the shape and not Michael Myers, because we obviously know what his name is, but I guess that was a reference to
To describe a specter or a spirit.
something during the Salem. They called it the shape. So I guess they pulled it from that, and I never knew that. I always wondered about that during the credits.
Yet the whole time during the movie, is he referred to as the shape?
No, he's just Michael Myers.
Okay.
You
But I
know,
don't
well,
think
the people that know
him, yeah, but he's not
Yeah.
referred to as anything. Nobody knows because you really don't see him. He's not like jumping out places and doing stuff.
No, it's not until part 2, which is that same night, but in the hospital, that they're aware of this guy.
It's Michael
got away
Myers.
and all that. Yeah, but yeah, definitely a classic. A great
One to
movie.
watch again, especially this
Yeah.
time of year. Go ahead and
Mhm.
pop it in with the fam.
No,
Make some
So,
popcorn.
So, John Carpenter, not only was he, the screenplay writer and the director,
Mhm.
he also wrote the song.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that is a big part of this. I didn't talk about.
Oh
Okay.
yes, the piano song.
Yeah. And so, he's not a, he'll play, but he plays by ear. He plays well, but he plays by ear. So he's not technically trained to like write notes, read notes, anything like that, but he knows, speaking from experience, I understand what he's doing, right? So, I can play a little bit here and there. And so I know it just because I can hear it and I can apply that then, let's say in this case, to a piano.
Mm-hmm.
He had that. I think it took him 3 days to write that, and that was it. Well, again, how great is that? I got a $300,000 budget. Jesus Christ! Like, what more do I got to do here?
Like 4 or 5 keys.
I wrote the thing, I directed the thing, and now I'm writing the goddamn music. Like, geez, man. All right. And I'll take $10,000. Thanks.
Yeah,
Would they be able to play that theme on an accordion?
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
But that music adds so much to it. I was actually watching it earlier. I caught like the first half of it, not even the first half before we got to get started here. But just even the scene where they're walking down the street during the day. Now this is during the daytime, and Michael pops out. We were talking about from the bush, and just that.
And you hear the iconic music.
The music, it just makes it. And I was thinking, like, without that music in there, that scene would not be as suspenseful or scary. That music is just like, yes, it's a huge part of the movie. And I even think I read a part where
That's when you're sitting at home, right? And as soon as that music is playing, that's
exactly.
That's when you just pull that blanket up, or your girl pulls that blanket up like over her eyes, and then she just peeking a little bit, and yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and I don't know much about, like, you said you're in music, but I guess it's called like the 4 or 5 scale or something like that. They said it was in
It's
a
a time signature.
time signature. That's what it was. Yeah.
So you're as a for example. Oh, we were just talking about the guy from Back to the Future,
Marvin Barry.
Barry. Yeah. So Chuck Berry, right? So Chuck Berry, obviously a great rock and roll guy, one of the originals. All of those songs are in what's called like a 4/4 time signature. This is that off tempo. So this is going to be that. So 4/4 is the number of notes. Again, I'm no scientist, but it's the number of notes played within a particular measure. Mm-hmm. If that measure is, so it's measured out to be 4 and you're playing 4, there's your 4/4. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm sure that I'm butchering this completely. But
Music 101.
So yeah, so in this case, it's like, there's space for 5, but 4 is played. If that makes sense?
Right. That does make. I mean, I get it.
And to all music lovers out there, I'm sorry for completely screwing that up.
It's like a 2/3.
But is that
so like
it gives it
like a waltz is a 3/3.
Okay.
That pop pop pop
Right.
1 2 3 1 2 3
makes sense.
Whereas again, that rock and roll song is going to be your 4/4.
Mm-hmm.
And this, if I read correctly, I think he said it's 4/5.
And it makes it sound almost a little off. Would you say that?
Correct.
And it gives you that, yeah.
Like
So it makes sense. Well, speaking of which, there's actually this metal band. You ever hear of Meshuggah?
What?
Sugar.
Meshuggah. That's you've heard of them. But they play. It's like a whole genre, and it's called like math rock. And they play it in these weird. I don't even know. It's probably similar to what you're talking about. Yeah,
like
I'll have to play. But
so progressive rock bands do the same. Like a great example is pick any Rush song, you'll see that.
Right. But you got to hear this drummer. Like when we're done here, I'm just gonna play you a clip.
Okay.
It's probably the craziest drummer I've ever seen in my life. They're called Meshuggah, and just made me think of that. But at any rate, a little off topic here with this. But yeah, the soundtrack to this movie, the music sets the tone. You don't even have to see the image.
Yeah, if you're going to watch a movie, watch this for the music alone.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure that just to like have your kids hear that music so they know when they get older, they'll be like, oh, that's Halloween.
Yeah,
you don't got to play like the whole movie for the kids.
Unmistakable.
It is
Absolutely
unmistakable. There's music from different movies that, I mean, I heard that before, but I don't know what it's from. You always know what this is from.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, Star Wars, unmistakable.
Unmistakable.
You know,
The
Indiana
beginning and the
Jones
end,
and Superman, unmistakable. E.T., unmistakable. Halloween, unmistakable.
For sure. But yeah, definitely, like I said, one of my favorites. You guys got anything else we missed you want to speak on?
No, just yeah, this is one that you need to watch.
Yeah, this is a 100% must watch. I mean, I gotta believe that anybody listening to this show has seen this movie. And Christ, if you haven't, please don't sleep on this. Get out and watch this movie. Just sit back, get that clicker, and start streaming Halloween.
Or at least for Halloween, pick it up during this season, and yeah, just give it a watch again.
Yeah, and I will say real quick before we sign off on this one, as far as remakes go, I'm not a fan usually. I do think that Rob Zombie did a good job on the first Halloween remake that he made back in, I don't even know, it was like the early 2000s maybe, or after House of 1,000 Corpses or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did a good job because he kind of kept it in that 70s vibe era, kind of had that feel that it could have almost came out back then. So I do think that's worth checking out. There's a couple stinkers in between. Halloween 2 was still good. Halloween 3 had nothing to do really with it. It was like The Masks and Season of the Witch and all that. And then they kind of got all over the place. But the remakes for that I thought were decent. These newer ones, not so much. But
usually when you get into like after the 3, after you're done with the trilogy, you start getting to 4, 5s, and 6s, kind of loses its touch.
Right. Well, the part 3 had nothing to do with Michael Myers at all. It was just toy company or something. But
yep.
At any rate, thanks for hanging out, guys. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Dirty Basement. Find us on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast. And don't forget to follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you're at, and leave us a rating. That really helps. And Apple, leave us a written review. That helps as well. I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for listening to The Vintage Cinema Review in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.